Today I'm going to be attempting to survive 100 days in hardcore Game of Thrones. That's right, all the kingdoms will be vying for each other's power as well as waging war on one another. And I'm going to jump right into the thick of it. I have a couple objectives for this video today as well as for the rest of my 100 days adventures. Goal number 1, I want to amass a large army. I'm talking huge, like 400 or 500. Objective number 2, I want to land myself pretty close to one of the winning kingdoms, and by that I mean one of the larger families, you know. It certainly doesn't hurt to have an inside loop into the larger armies and having them at your back at a moment's notice. So, I'm gonna get all chummy with one of them. And goal number 3, I want to have a castle. I mean, who doesn't? This is Game of Thrones. You don't get to have the throne without having at least a couple castles, and as it stands now, I have 0. So we're gonna change that. Now, as per the usual, this 100 days took me a long time. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like down below, subscribe for more awesome content from yours truly, and of course comment on what your favorite day was. Or I guess in this scenario, well, you know what, you'll just see when we get into it. This, however, shall be a story, as per all my other 100 days, and so, time to get into character. My house name has been almost completely destroyed. No markings nor references of great deeds or honor left. No proud story to carry about us. No, my father and mother were slain, selling wares at the local market during a wildling raid. This left my brother and I as head of the family to carry the weight of not only our younger siblings, but also the legacy of our family name, which was basically squat. As a boy, I would watch as father sold what wares he could to travelers heading north to Winterfell, or even further to Castle Black. You hear stories as a kid running around the markets, tales of golden kingdoms far away, of wretched colds that sweep grown men into eternal slumbers. My family name is eternal. Our sigil an infinite loop circling in on itself, and our words, forever vigilant, forever honorable, we shall not fall. Funny to hear the word after what seems like an eternity of pain and suffering. War has a funny way of bringing equal misery to all those involved, and those that try not to get involved as well. I know now there's no avoiding this plague of destruction, so I will take my learnings, my savings, my family name, and I intend to carry those words strong and true, so that my parents' death may not yet be in vain, so our family can once and for all become eternal. My plan started simple. War always arouses curious minds and eager hands, so I'll hire local riffraff and trade my way to a small fortune. I'll need the company to stay safe. They always say gold can buy cities and armies, but not happiness. Luckily, I'm only in search of the first two. So after gathering my local Northmen, I traveled south. If I want to spread my family's name, I need to start by going somewhere where we're not known as defenseless, slaughtered merchants. Also, winning a tournament or two could really help get the people of Westeros spreading good rumors. So after this, it's down through the Bloody Gate. Thanks to the limited amount of travel to the cities here, certain trades are bustling. That, coupled with my youthful upbringing around equestrians, allowed me to haggle my way into enough horses to carry my wares and my men. And I ended my month with another tournament winning and a bit more trading. Month 2, I'm recruiting every able-bodied man who hasn't already been swept up in the war, and winning every tournament I can sign my name to.
All of them.
By the time I reach King's Landing, I want every mother, child, and rodent to know my name. Barry Turnham, the man who never loses. Let's just hope the same is true for the battlefield, as I've yet to enter even one skirmish.
Things are expected of me.
After finishing in the Eyrie, it was time to head further south. One tournament at Harrenhal and another in River Run. My army is still small, but it's growing every day. I fear I may not be able to hire the strongest of soldiers, though, if I desire to have a larger army. Sometimes there is more power in numbers than in strength of the few. Not to mention, my current party's upkeep is something that I now need to manage. How long till they start wanting more money and better meals? Right now it's just grains and fish every morning, noon, and night. Thankfully though, with enough convincing, People will fight for just about anything with just about nothing. Month 3, in the early dawn of the first mornings, we rode to King's Landing. Just in time, too. It was being laid siege to by some poor bastards who don't understand just how difficult it is to take this monumental city. Even from the stories I'd heard as a kid, you have to know it's more of a war of attrition than anything. The city will hold, but the men inside can always break down. So, given 3 days' time, the siege was over, and once rallied leaders laying... So, given 3 days' time, the siege was over, and the once rallied leaders laid slain on the open field. Sad, but it's a great opportunity for me to go in and replenish the city's needs. Nothing makes a greater demand for supplies than having them all burnt up from, catapults and whatnot. Not to mention the leftover men still looking for more action are always great recruits. After this, I took my spot in the tournament to celebrate the victory, and I too showered in a glorious day of fallen enemies, for I'd now spread my family's name all the way to King's Landing, where royalty walks about in pomp, and the streets are less golden and more red than the stories ever led on. But this was merely the beginning, you see. Being known for a tournament victor is far from the legacy I wish to leave, and after this, I was heading further south. Had to get a better lay of the land, and many lords will avoid the desert simply because it's rugged terrain and their inability to keep their men fed and watered. So I'm heading there to recruit some of the scurviest, scaviest, grungiest men I can find.
I will have a very large army.
That's not true. I really don't hope they have scurvy. Or any diseases, really. I hope they're disease-free. Month 4, I'm down in Lemonwood. Not gonna lie, every time I say it, makes me a little thirsty and hungry. Take that as you will. I've learned a lot from my travels through the deserts, and have recruited enough men that now I'm sitting with a comfy small army. Notice how I still say small there, because the armies here in Westeros, well, they're huge. I've seen armies walking around 800 strong. That's just insane. After this, I swept across the southern desert. This way I could get to the western coast of Westeros and head on up to Casterly Rock. I know where gold in this country lies, thanks to all my travels and story sharing, and that city is its home capital. And, well, I've nearly gone broke in my travels from buying mules and horses in the south. I mean, I wanted to stop, but they were just so cheap that I couldn't. So when I return to the north, I'll become twice, if not thrice as wealthy as before.
And poof, mountains of gold.
It's a gamble, of course, as every day I teeter on whether or not I can actually afford to fund my soldiers. They don't know that, but hey, what you don't know won't hurt you. As long as I make it to my glory and fortunes, they'll be fine. Month 5, I'm still struggling. Month 5, I'm still struggling to... Month 5, I'm still struggling to make ends meet for the company. But I know we will break through soon. We have to. And just as I'm about to give up and lose all hope, sell my mules back for a loss, I turn almost 9,000 gold in profit. Turns out it really only takes one city lacking horses to replenish my funds, and from there, I'm only a few days' ride from Casterly Rock. Of course, I want to make sure I have enough gold and renown that when I get there, talk is already buzzing. And, well, unfortunately, no tournament was being held at the Rock. So I hightailed it back across Westeros to King's Landing, just in time for another tournament there. My fame is so much now that I believe I can finally muster up an army large enough to win a few skirmishes at least. So that's where I'm headed next. Bless me. Month 6, I sailed across the sea to Pentos. It's high time I spread my name and fame across the great desert, and what better way than by assisting the strongest lord over there. I mean, seriously, this general rides with nearly 1,000 troops. Luckily, I already had the horses that Lord Monchug was wanting, so I turned an easy 11,000 gold profit. That's what I'm talking about. See, these desert people, they know how to barter. 10 horses, 11,000 gold. Every day, sir. Every day. Month 7, I'm headed back north, trying to sell my mules and extra horses along the way, as well as returning home. I want to see how things have turned out thus far in my absence. Been gone for some time now, and returning with an army, as well as a chest full of gold, things will be different this time. No small bandits in the forest to scare me off, and I intend to prove myself in extra measures. Basically, I just mean I'm gonna go win some tournaments and make some money. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Month 8, I headed north of the wall, all the way up to the Fens. Something told me they would pay handsomely for mules, so that's exactly what I delivered. Thought about attacking them, as well they're pretty secluded up here in the cold, and they wouldn't have any further armies to come back them. But then again, they have enough forces up here that maybe I should just leave them off to their own devices. After this, it was back south, where I would accrue close to 100,000 gold for myself before investing heavily into future shops, caravans, and fellow comrades. As every general knows, he's only as strong as his weakest advisor. Month 9, I'm selling to Bravos. One more round of mule trading and I should have sufficient enough funds for a whole army. But once again, I end up stretching myself a little thin, thinking that I can make it back to Westeros with, just enough to get by. But it turned out that the cities of Westeros were still full up off the last mule trades that I did with them. So things were starting to look a little bleak for my men once again. But I mostly blame it on the caravan that I hired. I mean, she's literally only made me 100 gold and it cost me 22,000. So, yeah, it's not good. Month 10, I was purely and solely devoted to regathering my fortune. I'd lost it and lost it hard, and, well, if I'm gonna keep this army up, I gotta start making more money. As I was traveling around and selling my wares, I was also taking note of every location and castle nearby. I wanted to find a weak one with not too many defenders, and in a good location, ripe for the picking. So I would mark on my map each castle that I figured would be a potential victim of my first raid, and carried on through the lands. After all, can't really raid a castle if I'm going flat broke. Month 11, I'm back scraping across the southern castles of Westeros. Still trying to sell off what mules I can, and, well, it was not going well. However, my mission to recruit a sizable army had gone spectacular. I was sitting at some 350 strong and ready to try to take down my first castle. It's been almost a year since I started out on my adventures, so it's time to test my merit and my knowledge. Month 12, and it's time to go to war. Though I won't lie, when I attacked that first little village, I was only intending to anger the castle that held direct control of it. I didn't realize the entire Reach would then declare war on me, so...
The madman sees what he sees.
A bit awkward, but 2 armies came and 2 armies were slain. Unfortunately, my men weren't well enough to continue the siege thereafter, so I'll count it as a small victory and retreat to fight another day. After all, this was my first official battlefield skirmish, and I managed to win not 1 but 2 victories. So, the world's heard my name now, through tournaments, and, well, this certainly helped as well. And the Reach best take caution. I'm making allies across the seas, as well as closer by. It's only a matter of time before I convince them to join me in my efforts. Well, hopefully that is. My first mission in taking down the Reach is to help the neighboring kingdoms. which, not gonna lie, was taking a little longer than expected as I had to find a spy, and of course, well, they're the ones trying not to be found. Nonetheless, with that issue dealt with, I'm headed to King's Landing. It's been 1 year since I set off on my adventure, and to commemorate this, I want to own a little piece of King's Landing. So I bought a shop and set up a caravan. Now I'm tied to the riches of this land as well as the war sweeping through it. I've set my sights on the Reach, and it's a kingdom far too spread out. Too many weak castles, and given time, it'll be mine for the ruling. Month 13, and it's time to cement my place in the world. My name is known for tournaments far and wide. Now my plans to take hold of the Reach are also spreading. The final piece of this puzzle, I need a wife. But not just any wife, though. I needed royalty, one that came with a family that could actually win this war for me. And as they say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. My plan is simple. I'm gonna marry into the Lannisters, befriend them, use their services and gold to take down the Reach, then travel back across seas and befriend the desert cities. After that, we'll attack King's Landing from both sides. Not only will I end up with hold over the Reach, I'm gonna have the capital. And that throne, it'll be mine. On a side note though, my caravan in the north still had yet to turn me any profit for gold. The one that I hired out of King's Landing was captured because he decided to trade along the border of the war that I had just started. Kinda his fault, kinda my fault kind of thing. And even though I was married to a Lannister, I was going broke. And my wife was seemingly staying across the country from me. I mean, every time I went north, she went south, and every time I went south, she went north. Seriously? Seriously? There's something you want to tell me? So I headed back south. Really needed to sell my mules, and I heard Robert Baratheon was holding a tournament in King's Landing. And, to top that cherry off, he would be participating. What better way to send a message to the world than to go and defeat King's Landing's best men in combat? My forces were nearing 500 strong, and my reputation has reached every corner of this world now. It's time for House of Turnham to become the great clan it was meant to be, and for me to become King Bear, ruler over these lands. And that is what my next year will be about. So that's it then, 100 days in a war-torn world, full of bandits, thieves, and mercenary men. I managed to prevail. Not only that, I've come out pretty comfy. It's an army large enough to take down hopefully some of the bigger kingdoms, and enough companions that I'll never consider myself lonely again. It's been a long and arduous year, but I'm sure that this next one will be as well, so I can't give up my momentum, nor my motivation for the crown. I mean, after all, this world is just one big Game of Thrones. So, if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like down below, comment in the comment section what your favorite month was, and of course, if you're new here, and you like the content, you like these unique 100 days, subscribe for more. If you have suggestions of games that we could play for other 100-day challenges, well, I'm all ears. It's not true, I actually have a whole body, but my ears are listening just as well. Thanks everybody for the support y'all have given over the course of this past year, as well the channel is coming up on its 1-year anniversary. Sounds a little crazy, as well, I really didn't expect to, be quite where we are with videos doing quite as good as they are. Of course, they could always be doing a little bit better, so if you got a friend out there and you think they would enjoy this sort of unique style or series, be sure to give them a little nudge. Maybe send them the link. Maybe smush their face against the screen and say, "Sit down and watch this, you fool." Nah, I'm just kidding. Anyways, everybody stay being awesome, stay being yourselves, and stay healthy and happy and all that good stuff. As for me, I'll see you in the next 100 days.